Hello everybody, it's Non-C News here, and today we've got a lot of breaking updates today. So the first news is coming from Russia, more specifically Moscow. So Russia has just confiscated over $100 million from Google. So Russia has just begun confiscating this money from Google's Russian bank accounts and transferred it to Russian TV channels. So Russia has now confiscated $100 million from Google and actually, you could say, invested it to Russian TV channels. That's not the only thing Putin has done. So Putin has also held meetings with leadership of the Joint Group of Forces at one of the command posts of the Ministry of Defense. The Russian president heard reports from the chief of the general staff of the Russian armed forces, Gerasimov. So, if you can see here in the bottom left corner, the Putin and these generals were talking about the current situation that is unfolding in the Kursk region, as well as the current results of the war in Ukraine. So, very interesting statements, very interesting news coming from Putin, and the next news is actually coming from the Chinese President Xi Jinping. So, the Chinese President Xi Jinping will attend the BRICS summit in Kazan, Russia, the city here in Russia, which will be held in October. So, RAA is reporting and citing the Chinese ambassador. So, we're expecting Xi Jinping to visit Kazan, where he will obviously be greeted by Vladimir Putin himself. We've also got news coming from large-scale drone defenses cages that have been happening in Russia. So Russia has just begun developing more anti-drone oil refinery cages. So we can see here in the bottom left corner, this was actually geolocated at this exact location. So we can see here in the bottom left corner, Russia has begun developing more anti-drone cages to obviously defect and reduce the chances of Ukrainian UAVs striking oil refineries over Russia. Because in the previous week, Ukraine has been really hitting Russian oil refineries all over Russia and causing significant damage towards the nation of Russia. We've also got news that there's been a huge prisoner exchange between Russia. So there was an exchange of 115 Russian soldiers of obviously 115 Ukrainian armed forces prisoners. So they did a big exchange, so 115 soldiers, obviously for 115 soldiers, and all the Russian servicemen that were captured in Ukraine are currently in Belarus and are contacting their families. Now let's head to the Kursk region. So Zelensky actually recorded a video on the Ukrainian Independence Day. So if you can see here in the bottom left corner, he actually recorded the video quite close to the Russian border. So I'll add the picture and the map. So if Zelensky was very close to the Russian border regions, obviously near the Ukrainian offensive. So very interesting and a very bold move by Zelensky. So Ukrainian forces are also apparently using Polish PT-91 tanks in Russia's Kursk region, which were delivered over a year ago, according to the Polish president. And we've also got news that the British supplied Challenger 2 MBT tanks are in service of the armed forces of Ukraine in the Kursk region. So we've also got a lot of videos. If you can see here in the bottom left corner, this is obviously a British Challenger tank that was apparently spotted in the Kursk region. And this comes actually with when Britain allowed British weapons to be used in the territory of Russia. So British tanks are now in the territory of Russia. We've also got news coming from Zelensky that the Ukrainian armed forces launched an offensive in the Kursk region as a preemptive strike against the Russian plans to seize the Sumy region, Zelensky stated. He also, Zelensky stated that he promoted the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, Sursky, to general. So, Sursky is no longer, he is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, but he is now a general now. So, Sursky is now a general. Obviously, we're going to go into Ukrainian political updates, where we've got news that the president of Poland arrived in Kiev. So this happened yesterday, but I couldn't upload yesterday's video. I was very busy. He visited Ukraine to celebrate the Ukraine's Independence Day, and a lot of interesting topics were brought up and discussions. So one of the discussions the Polish President brought up was NATO is discussing the protection of Ukraine's skies by means of the alliance. So he's suggesting that Poland and the all of NATO might actually start shooting down Russian missiles over Ukraine. Now, we all know that this has been talked about a lot throughout this war in Ukraine, but he said this in Kiev, and we'll see if this is the truth and if this goes through. We've also gotten some statistics from the Polish president while he was making a speech in Kiev. So he stated that Poland spent 3.3% of its GDP on aid to Ukraine in total. Warsaw has provided the country with $26 billion. So huge amounts of money and just equipment. So he actually stated that in total we have given Ukraine almost 1,000 pieces of heavy equipment. T-72 tanks, PT-91s, Leopard, various types of armoured vehicles and personal carriers, 10 MiG-29 aircrafts, 10 helicopters, and much more, the Polish president stated. And the last statement he made, that I am convinced that the war will end soon, and Ukraine will win. So that was the statements by the Polish president. We've also got some interesting statements have came out of the US Air Force Secretary Frank Kendall. So Frank Kendall stated that the US has no plans to transfer its own F-16 fighters to Ukraine in the near future. The Ukrainian armed forces' immediate needs will be met by the current assistance by Denmark and the Netherlands. So no American F-16s will be put into Ukraine, apparently, according to this to the Air Force Secretary, but only Danish and Dutch F-16s will be operating. So very interesting news. The Washington Post also stated that the US may adjust aid to Kiev due to the attack on the Kursk region. The source told the publication that the US authorities are holding closed discussions on whether to include more armoured vehicles in the aid packages they send every 2 weeks, or to increase the supply of ammunition. So interesting talks are taking place, and we've got news coming from the Ukrainian energy minister has denied rumors about secret negotiations between Moscow and Kiev to stop attacks on energy infrastructure. So there will be no discuss of halting attacks on each other nation's energy supplies and infrastructure. And footage of tests of the Ukrainian kamikaze jet UAV has been published online today. So if you can see here in the bottom left corner, this is Ukrainian's new UAV jet-powered UAV. So if you can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see it does tests and actually takes off. So I have no doubt that this weapon, if it passes all tests, will be used in Russia. So there you go. And the last news come today is that, as we talked about in my previous video, Russia was talking about, and China and America were talking about, a huge Russian missile strike was coming on the Independence Day of Russia. So obviously it didn't happen, and this was probably because the Indian Prime Minister was on the territory of Ukraine, and the Lithuanian Prime Minister and the Polish President, so it was probably way too risky for the Russians to do such a huge missile strike when these leaders were here. But we've just gotten news now that, if you can see here in the bottom left corner, we've gotten huge air defense alarms that have been just ringing out. So it seems that this huge missile strike might just be happening right now, and we'll obviously see the consequences of this attack next video. So if you want to keep updated on that, make sure you subscribe and like. So now we're going to head to the next topic, is that the Ukrainian Foreign Ministry has reported a large concentration of Belarusian troops near Ukraine's border and called for their withdrawal to avoid a tragic mistake. So Ukraine stated that we warn Belarusian officials not to make a tragic mistakes under Moscow's pressure and withdraw forces from our border. So there's been reports of large, heavy equipment, artillery pieces, and even Wagner forces. So Wagner forces are in the territory and the northern parts of Ukraine. So it seems that if that's I don't know what's going to happen, but it seems by the look of it that Belarus is strengthening its borders and just might, I'm not saying that it will happen, but they might have an offensive into Kiev to counteract the Kursk front line. So we'll see what happens here, but I'll keep you updated on that. And probably one of the most unexpected thing happened the previous day on Ukrainian Independence Day. So the first country to congratulated the Ukraine on Independence Day was actually Lukashenko, the president of Belarus. So President Lukashenko of Belarus congratulated Ukrainians on Independence Day. So this was the first country to actually do so. And we've also got unexpected congratulations from Iran. So the Islamic Republic of Iran congratulates the government and peoples of Ukraine on their Independence Day. So let's just take note that Iran has supplied Shahed attack drones to Russia for the war in Ukraine. So just unexpected news coming from there. Let's head to news coming from Germany. So the big news coming from Germany is that the German Chancellor of Scholz had a telephone conversation with the Ukrainian president. So this was on the Ukrainian Independence Day, and the German Chancellor just said that Germany will have unwavering support for Ukraine, and stated that he will continue to support Kiev. So very interesting news. We've also got news coming from Pope Francis. So the Pope has criticized the ban on Russian churches in Ukraine. He noted that those who want to pray should be allowed to pray in the church they consider their own. Please let no Christian church be abolished directly or indirectly. Churches should not be touched, Francis stated. So this comes as the Ukrainian recent ban on any Russian Orthodox linked churches to the Russian Federation, I believe that is. So any churches linked to Russia has been banned in Ukraine, and obviously Pope Francis, being the Pope, has condemned the action of Ukraine. Now let's head to the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. So we've got news that Ukraine is currently asking for permission to strike Russia with Storm Shadow missiles deep into Russian territory. So I don't know, Zelensky doesn't actually quote what deep means in Russian territory is. This might be Moscow, I don't know, it might be Kazan, Yekaterinburg, I don't know. So currently Ukraine is asking both France and United Kingdom to be able to strike deep into Russian territory using the Storm Shadow missile. So very interesting news. We've also got news coming from France that the Telegram founder Pavel was detained at the French airport in Paris, so this exact airport here. So the founder of Telegram, the app Telegram, was detained in Paris. So he was arrested under a warrant for offensive related to the app Telegram. According to officials, the investigation is reportedly about insufficient moderation with Mr. Pavel, and was actually accused of failing to take steps to curb criminal use of Telegram. So there you go. So he's been arrested, and a lot of actually very, very famous people have commented on this. So Tucker Carlson actually commented on this. He actually gave an interview with this man. So he stated that Pavel left Russia when the government tried to take control of his social media company, Telegram. But in the end, it wasn't Putin who arrested him for allowing the public to exercise free speech. It was the Western country, a Biden administration ally. So it's pretty big news. He was not the only one. Elon Musk stated this. So Elon Musk posted free Pavel. So very interesting news. I'll keep you updated on this, on his arrest. And probably we're going to go into probably one of the biggest news coming today, is that the huge Israel strike on Hezbollah, Lebanon. So Israel stated that Israel has launched a huge preemptive strikes against Hezbollah targets in Lebanon. So these targets reported to hit 200 locations in southern Lebanon. So the army radio reports that about 100 Israeli fighter jets preemptively struck more than 200 Hezbollah sites in southern Lebanon, where rockets were prepared to fire at Israeli territory. So Israel was stating that they striked locations of Hezbollah rockets that were about to strike Israel. So this attack probably conducted a huge damages to Hezbollah, and actually Israel actually informed the United States prior to the preemptive strike against Hezbollah. We've got news, and Hezbollah has just responded. So Hezbollah responded of firing 350 rockets into the territory of Israel. So this was because of the 100 Israeli fighter jets that struck into Hezbollah. So now Hezbollah Lebanon has decided to respond with 350 rockets and drones. So we've got some images here and some videos here in your bottom left corner, showing just how much drones and missiles were fired. So obviously we can see the Iron Dome system doing its thing, trying to intercept all Hezbollah rockets, and apparently it successfully did so. So very interesting news, and the Israeli media are stating that another Hezbollah attack is going to happen on Israel, but this time Hezbollah is preparing to launch about 1,000 rockets into Israel. So there you go. So now we're going to go into the Sudan statements. So the head of Sudan stated that we have no barriers or obstacles to developing relations with Russia or any other country in the world. We are always open to those who support us and help us. Russia's position towards Sudan has always been constant and has not changed. He also noted that if Russia takes a step towards us, then we will take 10 steps towards Russia. So there you go. That was stated by the Sudan general, so the head of Sudan. We've also got news coming from Mali that in Mali, authorities have declared a state of natural disaster due to floods. So the government will allocate about 6 million to provide assistance to victims. So there's been reports of a huge flood that has been happening in Mali, and the Mali authorities have declared a state of natural disaster. So very unfortunate news. We've also got news coming from Botswana, coming from the largest diamond ever seen for about 2 centuries, or one. So one of the largest diamonds in the world, a 2,492 carat diamond, was found in Botswana, Africa. So we can see here, we talked about this in a couple of videos ago, I don't remember, but it's actually found itself into the president's hands. So the president actually of Botswana inspected the diamond, and he had a very funny reaction to it. It was very funny. I watched it, so you can just see how big this diamond is. It's as big as a palm. So there's been figures that stating that this is over $60 million worth of the diamond. So very interesting news. Now let's head to Pakistan and Russia. So Pakistani officials have been stating that Pakistan has long been cooperating with Russia in the energy sector. We are pleased with how the recent talks between the two sides on energy cooperation went. Our countries are also discussing LNG deliveries. So LNG means liquefied natural gas for Pakistan's long-term energy needs, and these talks will continue, she stated. So officials in Pakistan have been stating that Russia and Pakistan are increasing energy cooperation between Pakistan and India, and it seems to be going well. So there you go. We've also got news coming from North Korea that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un supervised the UAV tests. So Kim Jong-un looked at UAV tests that were happening in North Korea. So we've only got a couple of images of this. We can see him inspecting these UAV drones, which they did tests on tanks. So very interesting news. We've also got news coming from a pretty big fight that happened in Tokyo. So a member of the Moroccan delegation attempted to remove a sign. It appears to be from an Algerian representative. So the Moroccan man jumped on the table, and there seems to be someone who tried to stop the fight. So there was a big fight between the two delegations of the two African countries. So I actually don't know what was on the sign that made the man jump on the table and try and take it down, but it happened, so who knows. Now let's head to the United States. The United States is threatening sanctions against countries hosting Russian banks. So the US threatens other countries with sanctions for opening branches of Russian banks, the Deputy Finance Minister Wally stated. He stated that we will pursue not only the branch they open, but also other organizations and companies in your jurisdiction that cooperates with them. So US is threatening countries around the world with cooperation with Russian banks. And the last news today is coming from El Salvador. So the president of El Salvador stated in a video praising his military forces, which were responsible for policing and transforming the most violent country in the Americas into the safest in the world, with almost zero homicide rates per year. So this was stated by the El Salvador president, where he made a big speech to the army. So very interesting news, and that's all the news I actually have for you today. If you like what I do, please subscribe and like. I am Nonseen News. I try and provide you news that medias around the world do not show you. I do these videos hopefully daily, so consider subscribing and liking. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye.